Memories of a Retired Soldier. Hello, my name is Jack. I am a retired soldier. I want to share my story with you. It is a story about courage, loss, and hope. I hope you will listen. When I was young, I dreamed of being a hero. I wanted to protect people and make my family proud. So, when I turned 18, I joined the army. It was not easy. The training was hard. We woke up early, ran for miles, and learned to use weapons, but I did not give up. I was determined to succeed. In the army, I made friends. We were like brothers. We ate together, trained together, and laughed together. We were always ready to help each other. I felt strong and confident. I thought I was ready for anything. One day we got the news. We were going to war. I was scared, but I did not show it. I packed my bag and said goodbye to my family. My mother cried and hugged me tightly. "Be safe," she said. I promised her I would come back. When we arrived at the battlefield, everything changed. It was loud, chaotic, and dangerous. The sound of bombs and gunfire was everywhere. We had to stay alert and work as a team. I saw things I will never forget. I saw bravery, kindness, and sacrifice, but I also saw pain, fear, and loss. War taught me many lessons. It taught me to be strong, to value life, and to never give up. But it also left scars on my heart. I lost friends, people I cared about deeply. It was hard to say goodbye to them. They were heroes, and I will always remember them. This is the beginning of my story. There is much more to tell. I hope you will stay and listen to the rest. The war lasted for many months. Each day felt like a year. We moved from place to place, always on high alert. Sometimes there were quiet moments. In those times we talked about home. My friends shared stories about their families, their dreams, and their plans for the future. It gave us hope and kept us going. One night we were sent on a special mission. It was dangerous, but we knew it was important. We walked quietly through the dark, our hearts beating fast. Suddenly, there was an explosion. The ground shook and I fell. When I opened my eyes, I saw my friend Sam lying on the ground. He was hurt badly. I crawled to him and held his hand. "Stay with me, Sam," I said. He looked at me and smiled weakly. "Jack, take care of my family," he whispered. I nodded, tears in my eyes. Then he closed his eyes. He was gone. I felt a pain in my chest that I cannot describe. After that night, I changed. I still did my duty, but I felt empty inside. I missed Sam and the others we had lost. I wanted the war to end. I wanted to go home. Finally, the day came. The war was over. We packed our things and prepared to leave. As the plane took off, I looked out the window. I thought about all we had been through. I thought about Sam and the promise I made to him. I knew I had to keep it. When I arrived home, my family was waiting for me. My mother hugged me tightly. My father shook my hand and said, "Welcome home, son, we're proud of you." But I didn't feel like a hero. I felt tired and broken. I sat alone that night thinking about my life. I had survived the war, but I didn't feel whole. I knew I had a long journey ahead of me. Life after the war was not easy. The sounds of explosions and the cries of my friends stayed in my mind. At night, I couldn't sleep. I would wake up, sweating and scared, as if I was still on the battlefield. My family tried to help, but they didn't understand what I was feeling. I felt alone in my pain. I remembered the promise I made to Sam. One day I decided to visit his family. They lived in a small house in a quiet town. When I knocked on the door, a woman opened it. She looked at me with curious eyes. "Are you Jack?" she asked. I nodded. "I'm Sam's wife," she said, her voice trembling. She invited me in. Inside, I saw pictures of Sam on the walls. His children ran into the room, laughing. They reminded me of Sam's stories about them. I sat with his wife and told her about Sam's bravery. I told her how he saved many lives and how he always spoke about his family. She cried, but she thanked me. "You brought him back to us even for a moment," she said. After that visit, I felt a little lighter. I started to visit other families of the soldiers I knew. I shared their stories and listened to their memories. It helped me feel connected to them. Slowly, I began to heal. One day, I met an old soldier in the park. He was sitting on a bench, looking at the sky. I sat next to him and we started talking. He told me about his experiences in a different war. We shared our pain and our memories. For the first time, I felt that someone truly understood me. We became good friends. He told me about a group of retired soldiers who met every week. They talked about their lives and supported each other. I decided to join them. Being with people who shared the same pain helped me a lot. It gave me hope that I could find peace. As time passed, I began to rebuild my life. I found a small job at a local school, teaching children about history. The kids were curious and full of questions. When they asked about the war, I shared the lessons I learned, not about fighting, but about kindness and bravery. One boy named Tom always stayed after class. He loved hearing stories about my friends and their courage. One day he asked, "Were you scared during the war?" I smiled and said, "Yes, Tom. I was scared every day. But courage is not about not being scared. It's about doing what is right, even when you are afraid." Teaching gave me purpose again. It reminded me of the promise I made to myself, to honor my friends by living a good life. I started helping at the community center, where I met people who needed support. Some were soldiers like me, and others were just struggling with life. I shared my story with them, hoping it would give them strength. One evening, as I walked home, I stopped by the memorial in the town square. It had the names of soldiers who had served. I placed flowers there every week, remembering my friends. I whispered their names and told them about my day. It felt like they were still with me, watching over me. At home, I kept a small box of memories. Inside were photos, letters, and a medal I received for my service. I often looked at the photo of Sam and me, smiling in our uniforms. It reminded me of the bond we shared and the sacrifices we made. Though the pain of the past never fully went away, I learned to carry it with strength. I realized that life is a mix of sorrow and joy, and it's up to us to find meaning in it. Slowly, I began to feel grateful for my life, for the people I met, and for the chance to keep my friends' memories alive. One day, I received a letter from an old army friend named Mark. He had heard about my work at the school and the community center. In his letter, he wrote, "You are doing something important, something meaningful. I'm proud of you. Those words touched me deeply. It felt like my efforts were finally being recognized, not just by others, but by myself too. Mark invited me to a reunion for veterans. At first, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go. The idea of seeing old faces brought back both happy and painful memories, but I decided it was time to face them. When the day came, I dressed in my best suit and brought along the photo of Sam and me. At the reunion, I saw faces I hadn't seen in years. Some had aged, some looked the same, and some were missing. We shared stories of our time in the service, laughing at old jokes and remembering those who were no longer with us. It was bittersweet, but it was also healing. Mark gave a speech that night. He talked about how we all carried the weight of our experiences, but how important it was to support one another. We survived for a reason, he said. And that reason is to make the world a better place. His words stayed with me. When I returned home, I thought about what more I could do. I started writing a book about my life, sharing the lessons I had learned as a soldier and as a man. It wasn't easy to put my thoughts into words, but I hoped that one day my story would help others find their strength. As I wrote, I realized how far I had come. From a young, scared soldier to a retired veteran, I had lived through pain, loss, and redemption. And through it all, I had found a way to honor my past while building a future full of purpose and hope. Years passed and my book was finally published. It was called A Soldier's Heart. To my surprise, it received a lot of attention. People from all walks of life wrote to me, sharing how my story had touched their hearts. Veterans said it gave them hope. Young people said it inspired them to be stronger in the face of challenges. The book became more than just a story. It became a way to connect with others. I started speaking at schools, community events, and even military gatherings. Each time I carried the photo of Sam with me, placing it on the podium before I began. It reminded me of where I had come from and why I was standing there. One day, a young boy approached me after a talk. He held a crumpled drawing in his hand. "This is for you," he said, shyly handing it to me. It was a picture of a soldier holding a dog. "You and Sam," he said, smiling. Tears filled my eyes as I thanked him. In that moment, I realized that Sam's memory would live on, not just in my heart, but in the hearts of others. Now, as I sit on my porch watching the sunset, I feel a sense of peace. My life has been a journey of battles, both on the field and within myself, but through it all I have learned that even in the darkest moments there is light to be found. And that light comes from love, friendship, and the courage to keep moving forward. Sam may be gone, but his loyalty and love remain a part of me. I think about him every day, and I know he would be proud of the life I have built. I smile as I look at the horizon, knowing that my story isn't over yet. There is still more to live, more to give, and more to remember.